South Dakota. Great faces, great places. This is the old courthouse building in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. It was built back in 1809, and now it is a museum. It is a quiet morning here on Main Street. Of course, it is like 7 o'clock in the morning. Well, we usually have wall art, but we have electrical box art. Hey everybody, it's Mark the Lost Traveler. Got my big glasses on, and we're ready to travel. I look like a bug. If you can believe it, see this lady here? She's 92 years old. I asked one of the locals, she's a legend around Sioux Falls here. She walks all over this city, no matter rain, snow, hail, thunderstorms, tornadoes, she's out walking. God bless her, 92. Sometimes when you take a wrong turn, it leads to something really beautiful. So I came upon this great wall art mural. It's called The World Comes to Witter, August 2013. And I hope I pronounced the city right, or the town. Falls Park on the Big Sioux River. The Falls Overlook Cafe. Overview look of the park. Good morning to be out walking and biking around. Walk all over the rocks. A lot of places to take advantage of great pictures. There's a big observation tower back there. And then back to the cafe. There's your 360 view. This is a place you could definitely hang out and just enjoy the day. Just a few safety tips just in case you want to get a little brazen. Slippery rocks, no swimming, turbulent water, and please supervise your children because we don't want to lose anybody. Legacy of ice and rock. The Lake Wisconsin Glacier was no ordinary sheet of ice. The glacier was once 1 mile thick and it stretched from eastern Ohio to the Missouri River. It caused North America's most recent ice age about 14,000 years ago. I'm unsupervised, so I'm gonna go climb some rocks like everybody else. Let's get a little closer. Tell you, just put me in a hammock and set me right here. I'd be asleep in 2 seconds. Unfortunately, the falls can be beautiful, but yet tragic. A few weeks ago, a 5-year-old girl fell in and lost her life right at that spot. The sign here, Philander Prescott. Various explorers may have visited the falls of the Big Sioux River in the 17th and 18th centuries, but there is no definite proof. An early state historian, Doan Robertson, believed that Charles Le Sueur, who visited the falls as early as 1683, the first Euro-Americans who recorded the visit to the falls was Philander Prescott in December of 1832. That's the Turbine House. In August of 1879, construction began on the 81-acre site that was purchased for $38,000. That has to be a good view from up there. we have the upper falls. Down to the bottom. Now there's some vintage. This one stood 7 floors of the Queen Bee Mill back in 1880, which got its power from the turbine house from the falls. Oh, I could have stayed there all day. What a great place, very relaxing. But it's time to head on down the road. I'm at the USS South Dakota, BB-57. Battleship X. On June 7th, 1941, Vera Bushfield, wife of the governor of South Dakota, smashed a bottle of champagne against the towering bow of the new ship and proudly proclaimed, "I christen thee South Dakota." By the end of the war, the South Dakota had steamed 246,000 miles, destroyed over 64 enemy planes, and was awarded 13 battle stars. Here's a map outlining some of the battles that the ship was in. Marshall Islands back in 1944. Western Caroline Islands of June 1944. Philippine Islands back in October of 1944. And the Third Fleet operation against Japan in July of 1945. Tokyo Bay, surrender of Japan, September 2nd, 1945. They have a mock-up of some of the stuff that was on the ship. Here's the front of the ship as you make your way past some of the guns and hardware, past the visitor center where the tower would be. And then the back of the ship. Some of the characteristics of the ship here: standard displacement 35,000 tons, fully loaded 42,000 tons. Overall length was 680 feet. And the top speed was 27 knots or 30 miles an hour. The accommodations of, in 1942, 114 officers, 2,240 enlisted. In 1946, 160 officers, 2,113 enlisted. The South Dakota, with so many guns, it had 3 16-inch triple mount turrets, which had 9 guns, 8 5-inch twin mounted turrets, which had 16 guns, 17 40 mm quad mounts, which had 68 guns, and 74 20 mm, I'm saying millimeter, single mounts, which was 64 guns. Well, the ship was decommissioned back in January 10th of 1947, so it sailed 4 years, 10 months, and 11 days. The back end of one of the 16-inch guns, which was placed on the back of the ship, loaded in there, close it, and fire it away. And down the tube. As you can hear the echo of my voice. And out the other end there, you can see the hole at the other end. Looking from the back of the ship, these propellers were 17 feet 6 inches and weighed 18.2 tons. The Dakota had 2 4-blade inboard propellers and 5 outboard propellers. Thrust from the 4 propellers produced 130,000 horsepower. And of course the speed was 27 knots or 30 miles an hour. As we make our way to the front of the ship, there's the Mark IV fire control radar detector. Keep coming around to the front, and the anchor. The big anchor from the Navy Yard in Norfolk, number 13469, weight 26,194 pounds. U.S. Navy, 1939. USS South Dakota battleship, named for the state of South Dakota, built by the New York Shipbuilding Corp of Camden, New Jersey, authorized March 27, 1934, keel laid July 5, 1939, launched in June 7th of 1941, and its first commission March 20th, 1942. We have a captain and a shipmate here greeting you as you come in the door. A porthole and a life preserver from the ship, USS South Dakota, 1942, and do not ring the bell. There's a model of what the ship looked like. This is the model they would use to find out any defects or anything before they build the ship, and it was easier to build these giant models. That way, if any problems occurred, they could figure it out just by using the model before they started building. They said with so many guns on this ship, over 100 of them, when they were going off all at the same time, it looked like the ship was on fire. Behind this actual Japanese flag, there's a piece here from the USS Arizona back in December 7th of 1941. Just a lot of relics and memorabilia off the ship in here. It's the U.S. Navy enlisted technical ratings of World War II. That is Rear Admiral Dr. Cecil Andrews, Chief Medical Officer of the Dakota. And here are some of his medals. And look at that. Not too many people get to actually see a Bronze Star and Purple Heart. In grateful memory of Robert Chatelain, who died in service for his country, and it was signed by the President of the United States at the time, Franklin Roosevelt. Just some of the many pictures around here from the sailors, the officers, all the pictures of life on board the Dakota. The Japanese flag you saw earlier, here it is, all the sailors behind it. Admiral William Halsey. And as we head out, this plaque here, "We the living salute our shipmates who heroically fought and died so that America might forever be free." A list of the shipmates who passed away. Good day to be outside running around. The falls was incredible. It was really nice to see all that. A lot of people out there. It's probably more crowded now since it's a little warmer out. And coming to the USS South Dakota was a really interesting, great memorial to see what all the officers, enlisted men, everybody who was on that ship went through, and all the campaigns they fought during the wars. So really interesting to see all that. So. And on that note, Traveler out.